So welcome back to this video series where we're taking a Flutterflow marketplace template. This is a real world application that's in the App Store and Play Store and kind of getting it set up for ourselves so we can learn more about how the application works. And then of course you can then apply very, very similar techniques into your own applications. So where we are right now is in this particular series is we've kind of got the application running locally within inside our iOS simulator. It's not doing a great deal at the moment. It's allowing us to sign in into Firebase, and we're now at that stage where we now want to start bringing this application to life to start generating AI generated images. Now in order for us to do that, we need to use OpenAI, and of course we need to set up then an API key within inside that particular platform, which we can then configure within inside our Flutterflow project. And once we've done that, of course, we can then spin this back up again, and then hopefully, as I said, we can then see these images get generated and then associated with our account within inside our Firebase project. So that's what we're now going to do in this particular short video. So let's now move over to OpenAI to get our API key configured, and then I'll show you where you need to set that up within inside this particular project. Now just bear in mind that when you are now using OpenAI, that you will need to associate your card to it. This is one point where you will be charged, because of course as we are generating images, there's going to be a very, very small charge in order to use that particular API. So I recommend that you kind of load up some billing in there, just make some credit, to about something like $10, something that I did here, just to kind of use that to learn as you are then developing this particular application. So let's head over there now. So the link is in the description. This is platform.openai.com. I've got my account created. I'm into the billing section here. You can see here I've got like a credit balance of $7.11 there. And what I now need to do in order to set this particular project is I need to head over to the API keys section there, and I'm going to create an API key. So let me head over there now, and then I'll bring up the kind of the dialogue there that allows us to create our API key. So I'll hit the create new secret key option here. I'm just going to type in the name of my application. So this is called a digital brush, like that, so I can identify it. Quite happy with that. I'm just going to hit create a new secret, and then a secret is then going to be created for me. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, and then I'm going to head back over to then Flutterflow, and then I'll show you how to set it up just in that place. But let's now in Flutterflow head over then to the API call section here, and you can see down here we've got this authorization bearer open API key. So we need to delete that, and we need to replace that then with our token like that. So that's now all set, and we can just hit save there. Now please remember that this is a private API, of course. We're not kind of exposing this API key to the real world, because this is going to be executed from a deployable cloud function there, so don't worry too much about that. But you can see up the top there, this is now out of date. We originally deployed this API in our first set of videos. We now need to, because we now made a change here, we now need to deploy again. Now this is going to take just a few moments to deploy, probably 1 or 2 minutes to deploy this as an updated function. Once that's done, we could then hopefully be in a position where we can actually test this with inside the application. So we'll leave that to finish. I'll do a reload up here of the application, and then we'll go back to the simulator, and then we'll see if we can generate some images. Okay then, so before we attempt to generate our first image, let's just head over to Firestore here on the screen. You can see here I've got my collections here within inside the Firestore database. Got my albums, got another collection here, and then I've got my user collection here. I've got no images, so that's quite important. Now what's going to happen is when we create our first image within inside our application, we'll see a brand new collection called images, and then within inside that we'll see a document, and of course that will have all of the details about our image that we need. So let's now head over to the application. I've kind of refreshed it, sort of spun it back up again, and let's hopefully see if we can generate our first AI image. Okay, so here we are then. Let's type in our first prompt. So I'm just going to say clown sat on the moon. Let's hit generate image. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully this will work first time. You can see we're gradually starting to see this image gradually starting to appear as a preview, and then in a moment hopefully it will show our image. Okay, drum roll. There we go. We have our first image. So great. We must be connecting out to the OpenAI. We must be getting our first DALL-E generated image. And of course, that's now available now on the DALL-E service. And of course, that's going to be associated now with our Firestore database. If I just hit this little check here, now that's going to now create that record, that images record of inside a Firestore database. And you can see now that I'm seeing kind of the details here, seeing a little bit more additional detail that's been generated by OpenAI, and it's currently associated to an uncharacterized, or should I say, uncategorized, I'll get the word in right, sort of a collection, an album collection. So that's good. So we can just go back here and then we can see our image that is just located there. Now, if I head back over now then to here, we should see this refresh in just a second. If it doesn't refresh, I'll give it a quick refresh. And then we should see our images collection. There it is. And we just have a look at the image and there it is. We've got all of our details now available. So, of course, certain settings on the screen I could have then changed to say that I want this to be private. I've got likes and stuff like that, obviously in a multi-user application. Kind of got reference to the album, so we know that all the images are going to be associated with an album. We've got a kind of revised prompt here that's been returned back, and of course we've now got this temporary URL. Now, it's important to point out at this particular point is that this image has now been generated. It's now associated and it's being persisted on the OpenAI servers, or at least the location where it's putting these images from, which is going to be obviously local to the OpenAI platform. Now, the thing is that these images are temporarily available. They're probably only going to be available, I think, for about an hour. I think it is. So what would typically happen now inside an application is that this image, although it's in its temporary location, I would expect to have some kind of background process now within inside this application. That could be something like a cloud function or something like that. We'll see that this record has been created, has been generated. We should be looking now at that temporary URL. We should be saying, right, okay, new record that's been created. Let's now grab hold of that image and let's now then load that down to then a storage bucket that's then associated with the particular user. So for example, you would have your kind of your storage bucket here. I'll just click on that, and here you can see that my users, I've kind of got my user ID. Now what would be nice is here that you can have like then an images kind of folder, and then all of them the images would be then stored in there. Now this particular application doesn't kind of come with any of those kind of cloud functions or anything like that to make that happen. Now, we can easily add that to this particular application. So, of course, if you would like to see that in this particular series, then I can show you how to create those cloud functions that would then kind of persist those images to the users folder. And, of course, once they then delete those images, of course, then we could then see the cloud function then kick into life that will say, well, actually, I've now deleted the user, or I've deleted the image from the application. And then you'd expect to see then the bucket should then have that image actually removed from the user's kind of a collection here. So that is kind of like how it would sort of generally work. And at the beginning of this particular series, I was kind of hoping that this particular sample would kind of come with all of those kind of those storage mechanisms and stuff like that, but it doesn't actually do that. So in order to kind of fully complete this particular kind of example, then we're going to need to kind of just implement some of this kind of these scripts to kind of perform those particular operations. So again, yeah, please do let me know in the comments if you would like to see that in this particular series. And of course, at the very beginning of the video, I kind of talked about and said, look, profile images will be stored for every single user. And of course, if you've got like, hundreds of users, it will be okay. But of course, if you have then got users who are generating images and then, of course, storing that within inside your storage, and then say, for example, they no longer decide to use this particular application, well, if they don't delete their user accounts, then those images will remain. So I think there's kind of like operations you would need to kind of have with your applications that actually if the user doesn't use your application for, say, maybe 6 months, then those particular files can then be sort of wiped. So long as they kind of sign up to that and that's what they agree to, then you could put those kind of mechanisms in place, those more scheduled tasks to say, is this image over 6 months old, then delete it. And of course, then it then deletes it from the actual user's collection and stuff like that. So they're all the key things you need to think about when you are building these particular applications. But we can touch on some of those if you would like. And again, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see these sort of things covered in these particular videos. So of course, we now need to move on, and then we need to look at other features now inside this particular application, such as search. That's going to be quite important. We're going to need to cover that, and how do you set up Angolia search and stuff like that. So we can do that in this particular series. So we'll probably head over to there very shortly and start to do that. So let's just quickly head back over then to Flutterflow. Let's have a very quick look at this part of the application, because this is kind of like the preview screen that was kind of coming up. This is what the user was seeing with their temporary image that's being generated. And of course, at this particular point, they can choose to either kind of refresh that particular image, kind of make an edit to it, or even mark it as private. And of course, it will then go off and it can kind of regenerate that particular image. But let's just say that they were happy with this particular image. What they do is they would hit on this particular action. And of course, there would be then a Firebase action to then persist those particular details then to your collection of images within inside Firestore itself. So if I just open up this particular action flow here, you can see here that we got this create backend call. This is the bit that kind of does all of the magic here, sets all of these details up that you had seen within inside the Firestore collection, or at least the kind of the image document here. And these are kind of all just referenced here. It's just pulling out various kind of sort of values for this. I'll let you to kind of explore these and sort of go into here. And of course, we'll cover this a lot more as we sort of walk through this particular application. But this is what it's going to do. And then of course, it's then going to return back that a particular variable come back. So it's going to kind of create this. You're going to kind of get a reference to that image that comes back at that particular point. And then of course, we're then going to navigate to the image details screen here, and it's going to pass in that image ref that was kind of returned back. So like I said, we won't go too much into this. I just want to explain briefly how this part of the application works, just in case you're kind of wondering how we kind of got to this particular stage. So I think that's quite a wrap here. I've kind of spoken for quite some time here in this particular video. Hopefully you kind of found that useful, and that now then gears us up quite nicely then for the next video. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you found that useful. Now, of course, if you are interested in Flutterflow and the no-code space in general, please do go and check out the Digital Pros No-Code Academy. I've got lots of sample applications, more video content, written articles, and there is a fantastic community there as well. So please do go and check that out. But of course, if you just want to stick on YouTube, no problem at all, please do subscribe, and of course, hit the notification bell, and then you'll be notified when new content drops. So until the next video, I'll see you soon.